Some breaking news in Karen Reed's civil case. Now, if you look at the docket, you're not going to see any new filings that were filed, no motions, no notices of deposition of Karen Reed or Brian Albert or Jennifer McCabe. None of that has been filed on the docket. I mean, there's really not such exciting things going on in the docket. The last thing that happened on the docket was some attorneys withdrew their appearances and some new attorneys are filed their appearances. So nothing too exciting that we see on the docket going on in Karen Reed's civil case. So what possibly can I be talking about? Well, it's so important, such big news that we have to do a quick little video about it, and so that you can all get the true analysis, the objective analysis about what the news is. So here it goes. It's a tweet that came out from Nick Rocco, which from my understanding is he speaks on behalf of Karen Reed. So this is what Nick said. In the next couple of weeks, I'm launching a YouTube show that will give you exclusive access to Karen's defense team during the civil trial. This show will mainly feature guests, mostly from the defense team, to break down their motions and discuss what's currently happening in the case. And that's it. That was the tweet. What a nice little tweet. And it's got 105,000 views at this point. A lot of reaction going on with this tweet. Some people are happy for them. That's great. It's good to hear. Some people are saying, no, how can you do that? It's stabbing all these people, like these law tubers like Brother Counsel and Melanie Little and Lawyer, it's like stabbing them in the back. They took such an interest in your case, and they, and they talked about it a lot on their show, and now you're going to be taking away from them. So let me tell you what my perspective is after a lot of thought. And sometimes I spend some hours in the lab, sometimes in a dark room, but you come here because you want to know the truth, and we're going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the 100% truth, and this is what the perspective should be on this channel, okay? Is it good or is it bad? It is wonderful. Why not? Wouldn't you like to hear from Karen Reed's defense team? Wouldn't you like to hear them what they have to say? Whether it's going to be a lot of information or a little information, wouldn't you like to hear from them? I'd love to hear from them. So not only do I think it's an okay idea, great, it's wonderful. That's great. I'd love to hear from the defense team. I'd love to hear what they have to say about whatever they're willing to share. Now, understand, though, that there is a lot you're not going to be hearing. You're not going to be hearing all the inside strategy. You're not going to be hearing that. As we know from the criminal case, even after the verdict was reached, still, when David Yannetti and Robert Alessi went on, a number of different law tube shows, including mine, Brother Counsel, they were nice enough to come into my show. They're very careful about talking about strategy, about what different attorneys may have felt. You got a bunch of great attorneys in one room, and everybody has different ideas about how to do things, right? I mean, so, they're just not going to give you that type of information. So, yes, we did get some interesting information from them, and I appreciate that they came on the show, but understand that this is not going to be like a tell-all of, oh, let me tell you exactly what happened. We went out to lunch today and we were discussing, the order of witnesses. You're not going to be hearing that. What you may be hearing is like what Nick said. They're going to be breaking down the motions, what they're filing. They're not going to be telling you what happened in the depositions. They're not going to be telling you that. They're most likely going to be talking about what has been publicly filed and explaining that to everybody. Right. So they're going to be breaking it down, very similar to what we do here, what Melanie Little does, what Lawyer does, what all the law tubers do. They're most likely going to be doing it from their perspective, which is great because they're actually writing it. So wouldn't you like to hear from the person who's writing it what he was thinking and why he argued a certain way, why he put certain things in, left certain things out? I mean, I'm not sure how in detail they're going to be getting, but they are going to be, seems like, talking about the motions that they're filing, talking about the oral arguments, and maybe talking about the responses that they get and things like that. So what you're most likely, which is what I imagine you're going to be hearing from them, is very similar to what the other law tubers are doing when they actually get the documents. I mean, you're probably going to be hearing it first from them because they're going to probably hold it, as close to the chest as possible so they can be the first ones out with it, which is great. It's fine. It's their case. Let them talk about it first. Let them get the views. I really don't think that this is going to be taking away at all from any law tubers, from me, I don't think Lawyer I don't think Peter's concerned about it. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful to have more perspective on this case, have more lawyers, and especially the lawyers who are actually writing things and the ones that are actually getting up and arguing in court. If we're going to be hearing from, the big attorneys, or we're going to be hearing from, the lower level associates who are just kind of doing work on the case or helped out with the brief or did some research on, I'm not sure. But it doesn't matter. I'd love to hear any sort of insight from their team. I'd love to hear what they have to say. And in fact, that would also give me content, quite frankly, right? I'd be able to talk about what they spoke about and say, hey, this is what they said. Either I agree or I disagree. And that's also great. It's great content. You have different lawyers, different opinions sometimes. As Robert Alessi said, he watched the show while during the Karen Reed criminal case, and he said, sometimes I agreed with you, sometimes I didn't agree with you. That's how lawyers are. And that's why it's great to have more perspective on what's going on in Karen Reed's case. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. I don't see what the downfalls. I think just the opposite. I think this is great. We'll have more content, more lawyers, and especially the lawyers that are writing things. And in fact, I think what's very nice also about this is that many times when I'm breaking down these filings and these motions and these oral arguments, as you already know, sometimes that can be very complimentary and sometimes that can be critical of some of the writing or critical of some of the performance. And I'd like to hear what they have to say about it. Like I would love to hear why I had certain questions about this, the brief in the motion to dismiss. I had certain questions about the oral argument. If they would have gotten on their own show and would have said, yeah, this is the reason why we did this and then the other thing, then I can say, okay, well, at least we heard the answer. And then, either I agree or I disagree. But I think more information is better. I don't think anyone's concerned, really. Anyone who's doing shows like mine is concerned that there's another person doing a show, even if it's Karen Reed's defense team. I don't think it's taking away from me at all. I think it's helpful. I really do. I think it's going to be helpful. I'll be able to use their content. I'll be able to, analyze what they're talking about, not just analyze what they wrote in the motion, but also some of their thoughts behind it. And then you can get even a better perspective on it. So I think it's great. Why not? Let's get more information. Let's get more perspective out there. And I don't think it's going to be hurting anybody in the long run. And I don't think it's a stab in the back. I think it's great. I think, if this is what they want to do with it, maybe they'll be able to raise some money with it. And, whatever the purpose is, getting information out the way that they wanted to get out, that's fine. What's wrong with it? So that's my perspective. I think that's the correct perspective. Taking all the emotions out. That's what we do on this channel. We take all the emotions out, just look at this rationally. And I don't really think any of the lawyers for sure that are covering this case are concerned at all. And in fact, I think that it would be very helpful. I think we'd love to hear that. And the only thing that I think that they should consider is coming onto my show. I mean, personally, I think that that's what they should do. I'm mostly in civil litigation. I love to, talk about different things and pick their brains on certain things. But maybe they're going to be careful about that. Maybe they don't want another lawyer, asking them all these questions because they don't want to give away a lot of their strategy. Perhaps, it could be it's a very guarded show because they have to be careful what they can say, what they can't say. I don't know. What I do know is that's great. More information, more perspective is, I think, what everyone's looking for. So I think it'll answer some questions that we have. And then we can, once we get past those initial questions, when I say, hey, what were they thinking? Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they cite this case? Why did they cite that case? Why didn't they put more emphasis on this part of the brief? This argument, this one's a better argument. Why did they structure like this? Maybe they'll give some of the answers, and then I'll be able to tell you whether I agree or not. So I think it's great. So I'm here for you. I'll be rooting for you the entire time. You need anything, let me know. Let Brother Counsel know. I am right in your camp. So I think it's great. And I think I've made that pretty clear. So I just wanted to do a quick reaction. It's such big news. We got to talk about it. Karen Reed's defense team having their own YouTube channel, and wish them the greatest of success. So that's going to be it for now. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, and subscribe to them too. That's also great. Subscribe to everybody. Everyone should win in this market, right? Okay. All right. So that's going to be it. Subscribe, and we'll see you next time.